all of that conventional medicine you're falling for goes back to an old theory developed in the 19th century called germ theory. If you want to understand what's driving chronic disease, you need to understand terrain theory. It was actually developed around the same time, but the doctor who promoted it wasn't as well connected as the germ theory guy you might have heard of, Louis Pasteur. Pasteur was known as the father of germ theory. He gave his name to the process of pasteurization to kill microbes that could make us sick. So he said that microorganisms in the environment spread and cause disease, with every disease the result of a specific germ. But a colleague of Pasteur's at the French Academy of Sciences was Antoine Béchamp, and he argued that a specific germ can't cause an infection or disease unless the state of the body, the terrain, allowed it. A weak immune system or malnutrition can enable pathogens to get a foothold while a healthy body remains unaffected. So the two theories today are given the analogy of a fish tank. If your fish is sick, germ theory says you should isolate the fish, perhaps give him some antibiotics or a vaccine, whereas terrain theory says clean the tank. In my book, I have like a little illustration, show you there, where I compare germ theory. So one guy, he's getting his shots and he's wearing a mask and he's really scared of those germs, where the terrain theory guy is out in the sun, eating an apple. So that's really, an analogy as well. Now, 100 years ago, germ theory won out. And the development of antibiotics in the 1940s obviously saved a great many lives. But we've since discovered our human relationship to microorganisms is far more complicated. We found the microbiome, and that consists of trillions of bacteria and viruses and fungi and parasites that are in and on our body. A majority of them are actually in our gut, but we also have them on our skin and throughout our body. And the vast majority of these bugs, they're going to contribute to a happy terrain, and they're driving all sorts of processes in our bodies, such as immunity, metabolism, hormone regulation, neurological function. We'll look at antibiotics and the microbiome, I think, in a different video. But part of the problem with germ theory is that it's been applied now to nearly every condition and disease that's in the modern healthcare catalogue. A pharma-first approach to illness is based on the flawed premise that a pill can cure every ill. The idea of an antibiotic pill or a medicine to cure an infection from a given bacteria got extrapolated firstly to other kinds of infections like fungi, viruses, parasites, and then even beyond to diabetes and autoimmune and cardiovascular conditions and cancer, and terrain theory is being just about ignored. That's conventional medicine for you. It's what your health plan is dedicated to. But the tide is starting to turn with certain pockets of understanding, though the health insurance model really hasn't caught up. But terrain theory was on full display during the COVID years, for example, with a general acknowledgement that the majority of people who were hospitalised with severe disease, and even more of those who died, actually had comorbidities of diabetes or heart disease and other underlying conditions. Lyme disease is caused by a bacteria which typically transferred in a tick bite. It's starting to be recognised as a chronic condition and not a simple fix with a course of antibiotics, but you really need a whole body approach. Even childhood illnesses like measles, perhaps the biggest controversy between germ theory and terrain theory, while measles did used to be a severe disease and still accounts for many deaths in poorer countries, it's generally acknowledged that nutrition, or a lack thereof, plays by far the biggest role. So vitamin A in particular has been found to be most critical in preventing measles and reducing its severity. So understanding what's wrong with healthcare today beyond, the price issues, the quality of access, and all the topics that get discussed at length, the one we're not talking about enough is getting employees off the pharmaceuticals and embracing terrain theory as really the only sensible way forward.